Okay, I will call our meeting to order, Monday, May 11th, 2015. Review and approval of minutes from the meeting of April 13th, 2015, which of course was in our packet. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept it as presented. Is there any discussion? There apparently being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes.
I just want to say, Chris, you handled some of those comments really well.
Oh. I was going to add that. Thank you for saying the same thing I was thinking.
Yeah. There had been feedback on that.
Oh, really? You'll have to tell me.
No,
Later.
just that everybody was impressed with the way things went. Resident and citizen participation.
Well, we might have hordes of people here, but I guess not. So we're going to wait for the meetings that are scheduled here, which is May 27th at 3:30 for Lakewood.
Okay. So that covers resident and citizen participation, business of resident interest. Pay-as-you-throw discussion with representatives of the Town and Trash Collection Co. Moss and Peter. Peter's here,
We have Peter. Well, Peter.
so you can discuss.
And can I have the last one?
Sure, it's Gaskill. Gaskill.
I was going to ask the same question. Why don't you,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would you introduce?
Okay.
We have our names on.
What? Yeah, okay.
Chris Connolly.
Janet Kramer.
Marshall Wheelock.
Tom Fennell.
And I'm Chris Hart. And Mary
I introduced myself.
and Mary will do our
Right.
video. And we don't know where Moss is.
He's been a difficult fella to catch lately,
Okay.
Understandably. What would you be able to, would you like
Well,
to share?
I
with us?
know the general ins and outs. You know, I'm the contractor. I can speak towards that point of view, and I certainly have a pretty reasonable thought of where Moss is at and what he's trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
You know, I sat in on the pay-as-you-throw committee for the town, so I'm pretty much up to speed on a lot of that stuff.
And Peter, you're a contractor.
Sure, I'm the general manager for Triple T.
Thank you.
That's what I know. You know, pay-as-you-throw is scheduled to begin June 30th, that Monday. Folks have a choice of buying a 30-gallon bag or a 13-gallon bag. They come in rolls of 5, I believe. You can buy them at most food retail folks around the area, as well as a few convenience stores and hardware stores. You know, hopefully the thought behind the whole process is to encourage people to recover resources, the recycling, you know, traditional recycling. The Brattleboro has the opportunity to also collect organics out of the trash. You know, you have some certain hurdles you're going to have to overcome on your locations here in town, and because you know, you have probably some cohabitating container usage. You know, folks share trash carts or something, or recycling carts. I'm not sure about all the specifics.
No, I think most people have their own bin for their apartment. But this, I was thinking that this is a good apartment to be in because this is our largest apartment. And this is for a family of 5 or bigger.
Wow.
So when you think about, you know,
Sure.
separating and recycling and all of that in a fairly small space, it gets to be small.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest concerns is, you know, how are people going to manage all of this? Now, in these buildings, out the front door is a storage room, which we've actually gone to a lot of effort and expense to make usable for dry storage for all the things that tenants have. Because as we know, people have a lot more things than they did before. They used to be, back when they were leaky and cold and all that, where people kept their garbage cans. And now they're used more for dry storage. So I think it's going to be the space, you know, making the space in the apartment to do those two things, or even outside. You know, we have cats and we have dogs and all of that. So I think it's just working with households to help them figure out the
Strategies.
the space and how they're going to do it. It's a little misleading. Some of the information that's gone out, well, the information that's gone out is presented broadly to the community, and so it says any apartment of 4 units or more is on their own. And our residents have been very surprised then, having read all that, that it applies to them. The reason it applies to them is because the Housing Authority and the town have had this long-standing cooperative agreement, and one of the items under that is that the town provide trash collection to all the Housing Authority properties. So the town has always done that, unless we've had, when we had dumpsters here, then the town didn't. But when we took those out, then the town picked up the trash. So for our residents, it's been a bit of a shock and surprise that they are included, and the expense is one that they're concerned about, and wondering why, you know, they've never had to pay for it, so why do they have to pay for it now? And the answer is because everybody in town has to pay for it, and we get the same services everybody in town. So I think those are, that's an issue of our communication, and I know the property managers, and Mary could speak to this more, the property managers have been putting out various memos and information. I know that there are information sessions that are scheduled everywhere. The only property that is not affected is the Samuel Elliott Apartments, because it is dumpsters.
And A.W.
And
Richards.
the A.W. Richards building. So I think, Peter, if you could just address two things. How is it going to be policed in terms of, you know, your collectors out there and the bag is full of all the wrong stuff or some of the wrong stuff? And what's the town thinking about in terms of any increase or any illegal dumping that might go on as a result of this?
Well, as far as our guys' approach to it when they collect, I mean, if it's not in an appropriate town bag, then they'll leave it and they'll probably sticker it and state as such. So the folks kind of have an option in theory. I mean, the town has a mandatory recycling ordinance, but if you have recyclables that you can put in a bin and get collected essentially at no additional charge, or put that recyclable in a bag that you're paying $3 for, the theory is that people will put it in that bin. So hopefully that'll alleviate the recycling and the trash issue considerably. And then if they really are enthused, then they can even put organics in a separate bin and get those collected separately at no additional charge. In regards to, so hopefully that's the whole carrot and stick thought, I think, behind pay as you throw. And our guys, essentially will be instructed to leave it behind. We'll try to have some sort of educational materials within reason, or at least direct you to a website or a phone number or something of that nature, so folks, can figure out where things have gone wrong. And in regards to that, I know Moss is, as you stated, going to come by and try to do some education. Lots of times, especially early on, I'm sure he's going to be around to do follow-ups and education for people one-on-ones. He did that in the previous round of trying to get folks just to encourage more recycling in general. I'm sure he'll be on board for doing that for folks who seem to be having some issues with trying to get on board.
This might have been more appropriate for Moss if he were here, but what is going to happen when people discover that have not been composting, that they can save money by composting? Is the town Is the town addressing that? I mean, they've recently made more composting bins available.
They have more composting bins available. I believe there's another Saturday, you can go to the skating rink and purchase an outside compost bin, which has a great sealing lid and what have you. You know, and it's at a reduced price. The town has subsidized it, but I still believe it's $10 for a 13-gallon bin or 9-gallon bin, which should certainly hold a family's compost for a week. And you know, in all honesty, 2 families could share it here, you know, and work it out, and even reduce their cost for a while. Because I mean, if you think of 3 bags of trash or 1 bin, that'll last for quite some time. So compost is certainly an opportunity people can take advantage of. And lots of times people just think of fruits and vegetables and stuff like that as compost, but also there's lots of paper packaging that's not recyclable that is compostable. There's egg cartons that are the molded pulp, your pizza boxes, stuff, or any paper boxes that come out of the freezer at the supermarket. Those are all compostable, but not really traditionally recyclable. So that's stuff that catches a lot of bulky material that you could you know, recover that resource versus throwing in your trash, you know, paid throw out trash bag. So that's a great resource for people to try to utilize.
Peter, I live in Morningside Commons, and we have had some material on this, and one of them talked about the fact that plastics could not go into the recyclable if you could bend them. In other words, if you had a plastic bag, that wouldn't go into the plastic recycling. I want to make sure I'm correct on that.
Well, the town is still collecting plastics 1 through 7, as far as I know. And so if it has the chasing arrows with the number 1 through 7, now plastic bags do have a recycling chasing arrow, and they do not take plastic bags. So that, you know,
It's going to end up being pretty confusing for a while.
I would think so, but I mean, 1 and 2 are the best commodity recyclables. Your PET and your HDPE, they're number 1 and number 2 respectively. And in your laundry detergents, almost everything you purchase in a plastic jug at the market, you know, is going to be quite often a 1 or a 2. You know, there's a lot of your yogurts and your tubs, they're 5s and 6s and such, but those are all recyclable, you know, cleaned out and what have you. But yeah, and then I think that what you might be referring to is if it's larger than a certain size. You know, I don't think they want to collect anything over a couple gallons in size, so they don't want 5-gallon buckets, or they don't want swimming pools. Or
What would we do with that?
that would be considered trash.
That would be considered trash.
That won't go in a small bag.
More likely won't go in a small bag.
And what are the costs of the bags going to be?
Sure, the large bag is $3.
A piece?
Correct. And the small bag is $2.
Yeah, if you don't pick up a bag, are you gonna leave a sticker on there explaining why?
We'll have some sort of way of communicating with folks that it's not meeting their weight limits on the bags, so that folks don't get too carried away.
Are the bags translucent, and will there be any policing of what is in the bags?
Well, I mean, the town has its ordinance that says that, you know, there's no recyclables that are supposed to be in the bag, and it's supposed to be household trash. So if it's something that's obvious that it doesn't fall within those parameters, then the guys would probably still have to.
Somebody jams a used tire in one, they won't
Correct,
pick that.
correct.
Okay.
I think I want to go for Marshall's. Are they translucent or are they?
The large bag is purple and the small bag is yellow.
Okay, so it's not clear that people, I know they had this problem upstate Vermont someplace where they had clear bags and people were very, very upset about it.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that, but
Yeah.
I know that is a strategy that has been used in different communities to verify that folks aren't putting the wrong stuff in the container.
Other questions? Well, Thank you very much.
I do
know
have
I've
one
got-
more.
Okay.
But the other places that we don't go through the town, it's the same as your regular rules with picking up dumpsters or picking up trash cans someplace else that are just direct to you.
Sure, the gist of the law is that people are supposed to pay more for the quantity of waste that they generate, so thus the fee per bag. Where we have containers, it's kind of the same idea. You have a container and you pay accordingly to that size of that container. So it's the same idea in the private side of the world versus the public municipal.
And if I can be philosophical for a moment, the Wheelock household has a let's clean the house out program underway, which will be completed before January 30th. I mean, June 30th.
Can I say also the Connolly family has the same?
The time is getting short.
Yeah, so it's,
I will say that Vernon went to pay as you throw a year this coming June, and the last week before they went to pay as you throw was a tremendous week of picking up.
Have you run into people dumping down there more than before, or?
Not really. I mean, I think you just have a few instances where you call in the police, they open the bag, they find some junk mail, ooh, and then also at the same time is, I mean, if people are going to start pirating services, trying to find a dumpster at a private business, after a while, I mean, the thought of a $500 fine of trying to go to somebody's dumpster after dark, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And so you have some sporadic instances of that. I certainly would say that it doesn't happen, but I think people maybe create it for a little while, but then they recognize that it's not a worthwhile venture. Of the risk does not meet the reward.
And we will have to do that kind of policing. I mean, we'd like to think that nobody will do that, but I suspect there may be a bag or two that goes over a fence, and we'll just have to open them and see if there's any way to trace it back.
Yeah.
And I know Moss has said that he's actually going to go around town and do that. One of the things that I found very helpful was when they started the recycling, they had the plastic signs that you could actually, they were glue or something in the back, and you could put them on your recycling bin and where you put your paper, and that was really helpful for people because they could look at it and it actually had a color picture of what was supposed to be in there. So the more we can get that clear about what goes into what, the better off we'll all be.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely.
So,
And I'm just thinking again, for certainly many of the people who live in our housing, telling them to go to a website isn't helpful.
Yes, no, I hear you. I hear you.
well, that's something that we can certainly work out with Moss and
Yes,
with you to make sure that we have good educational materials in all of our offices on sites like this one, so that people, can come here. They won't be happy, they haven't been, but they can come to us and we can give them that information. So
Yeah.
we can,
I know that there's certainly, physical
yeah.
educational materials that you can pick up and touch and grasp and look at. And so
Your charts, we with another organization I'm affiliated with, we just went with you several months ago, and they gave us these little charts, and that helps people a lot. We put them on top of the ones that you already have. We put them on top of the trash cans, and you'll see people standing there looking at it, looking at it, looking at it, and it
We spend
works.
half the day doing that at home.
we volunteered very similar services for Sterling of the Ever since it essentially started. And so we have Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts for years and years and years. They'll really stand at the trash stations and help people separate. So that for the first couple of hours of the Dairy Fest, folks are very busy and active. But after a couple of hours, everybody's had at least one interaction. And then after that, they're like, oh, okay, I can make this decision. And they start proceeding. So it's an educational, but after a while, you don't have to keep repeating it.
I have to say, at the Works, they did it really well downtown, because I was standing there during a meeting the other day. I never noticed it before, but they have the symbols on top of their trash cans, built into their trash cans. So you can tell, they tell you what it is, but you can tell by the shape of the opening to the trash can what goes in there. I thought that was brilliant.
You have to Works has done a nice job.
Yeah.
So, great.
Well, good, thank you
All
very
right,
much
well,
for coming,
thank you.
Peter.
All right.
Here.
Sorry, you're,
Oh, yeah, Moss is much more articulate.
well, no, you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
very
Probably a
much.
shorter meeting.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, that was good. Even, I shouldn't say even if it was just Peter. Despite the fact it was only one person. Rather than a group effort, that was very useful, I think.
Moss is probably riding around looking for it.
Yeah, well, let me just read off when the information sessions are going to be, and Moss is supposed to be at them. So, May 14th at 3:30 at Moore Court, May 18th at 3:30 at Melrose, May 20th at 3:30 at Hayes Court, and May 27th at 3:30 here at Ledgewood. So that's when, and these have been posted and distributed, and the property managers have tried to get them.
Samuel Elliott and R.W. Richards, things will be going along
As they are.
as they have. There will be no trauma of change.
Well, Samuel Elliott, we'll talk about their trauma.
Oh. Property managers review written reports. First of the light yellow from Chelsea and Courtney. Include rent collection, etc., etc.
So, as we have said before, Ledgewood continues to have problems with rent collection.
Yes, and we had Chelsea put the notes that those three are really the cause of most of that balance is tied up in those three instances. And you'll probably see one of them come forward to be a write-off.
The other ones are great.
Yes, and
Yeah.
Melrose Terrace at 96%, Hayes Court at 90, and
More than
A.W.
88.
Richards 91%.
Yep.
North Court at 88%.
Yeah.
Almost there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Elliott, 91. Those are good. Balcony cleanup. That's Samuel Elliott. You proposed clarification of policy. Would you
Yes.
like to walk us through that, Chris?
Well, what I included here is the clarification that we distributed to everyone, the frequently asked questions, which seem to work pretty well for folks, that are a result of the meeting that we had, which I thought was a very good discussion, and people asked their questions. There was a lot of discussion about sliders and the windows and all of that, and I think Jack was able to really give people the detail that they were interested in. So that's in there, and then my note to the residents, just clarifying, why this was being done, what was going on. And I have to thank Tom. I mean, he really brought to our attention that the first bit of information that we sent out, which was a note from the property manager, she was really thinking about big cleanup day, which was the 29th. And so that was really, and that we had to get these cleaned off for the slider installation.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't enough sort of solid information on, and laid out sort of what is going on here. So we really did need to step back, look at our communication, and restart. So thank you.
You mentioned cleanup day. I'd like to suggest that you have more than one a year.
Okay.
like maybe quarterly.
Oh, okay, all right.
This is,
Yeah, that quarterly might be too frequent. We
Well,
would
once a
usually
year
do
is-
spring and
is-
fall. I mean, we're not gonna do
once a
one
year
in the
isn't
winter.
enough.
We do it twice a year.
Yeah.
But we're
we
doing
do-
it twice.
Yeah, we
so
do it
twice.
Do it 2 more times.
January? We're not doing that in January.
Well,
Yeah.
well, one more time then. Do it at the end of the summer and then the end of the fall.
Well, that's when we do them
Well,
now.
wait,
We
wait,
do them
We
in the
do
summer.
it in
we
the
do 'em-
spring and then around October, right?
Because what winds up happening is, at least at Sam Elliott, is people put it outside by the recycling anyhow. And that makes for problems picking up the recycling. And there's always trash there. Maybe
Yeah.
not much, but there's always trash.
It's not always.
So not all of it, by the way, comes from Sam Elliott.
Right.
Right, I know.
I was looking at question 15 on your frequently asked questions, and the fact that the storage is full, and some items from that storage may belong to people who no longer are residents. Do they not have to tag what they have in there?
They do, they
So
do.
that this is,
So,
they have to, but the fact that they move doesn't necessarily mean what belongs to them gets moved out with them.
right, right. In fact, I can tell you somebody that moved a lot of stuff into that storage room on the way out the door.
Well, they're moving and they left all the stuff in the
Yeah.
storage room.
Yeah, so, this was, by way of reminding people, mark the stuff that you put into storage and help us lighten the load in those storage rooms by maybe being around on the floor when maintenance comes through and saying, you know, that belonged to so-and-so who left 2 years ago and this isn't marked, and then, you know, maintenance can sort of give a yell, hey, does this belong to anybody? You know, you didn't mark it. Because we don't want to throw out something that actually belongs to somebody and they just forgot or they didn't mark it. So it's that fine line, but we also really need to clean these rooms out.
And after our discussion on trash, that's even
Yeah.
more apropos.
The other
Right.
thing might be somebody passing away and their children or someone else is cleaning
yes.
out the apartment and don't even think, maybe not even knowing that there's a storage room.
Right, and the property manager always tries to tell whoever is cleaning out an apartment, under those circumstances, to look at
Okay.
the storage room, that, you know, shows them where it is and says, you know,
Okay,
make
okay.
sure that you look in here. And in that case, if we then went into the storage room and found something that belonged to somebody who was deceased, then we would get hold of the family. We would get hold of whoever we had as the contact person and tell them, we found this box or whatever it was. So, it used to be pretty regular that we had 1 or 2 boxes of family photos just stored. And the good news is that in one case, it must have been 5 or 6 years later, somebody came to our office and said, you know, did you know so-and-so, he was some great uncle and he had all these family photos, and we said, we have them. It was amazing, but we have it.
That's great.
So,
For what it's worth, the balconies at Sam Elliott, for the most part, look pretty clean.
they look great. They look great. I did want to draw your attention to this.
It looks like a balcony.
It does, it's a balcony, and Jack isn't here, but I will say that Jack has spent a fair amount of time figuring out how we can add to the balconies in order to make them safe for children.
That's what I was going
good.
to
This building was not built with children in mind.
Can you show it to
So-
the camera?
So we have an idea of inserting these slats between the railings. There is an expense,
Oh,
and
yes, I see.
we'll have to start with the highest priority balconies and then keep going.
There's the contrast.
So, yeah, so the idea is to put these on, and then Jack said that would make, and if you can see way down at the bottom, there's 3 new There's one right down here, gets sort of lost in the
Hmm.
Yeah.
so there's 3 of these put in. Yeah, there's one down
that
here,
wood?
one here. No, they're metal.
They're metal.
They're gonna be metal fabricated and then they'll bolt into the side of the building.
Great.
Yeah,
So he's been working on this and he thinks he can get it for a good price and then our folks will have to put them in to save us money.
And then that doesn't really affect the fire when people,
does
if
not.
they have to come. If anything, it may make it a little better for them.
It does not.
It's almost
yeah.
like steps.
Well, and I have to say, one of the concerns then the staff raised is, well, what if kids get out here and they're in X, Y, and Z? And we said, you know, if you have children and you're living in a high-rise, there's only so much we can do to
Yeah.
protect,
right.
Yeah.
you know, and you know, we feel like now we've brought this up to code.
Mhm.
And there's not much else that we can do in terms of child-proofing on an entire balcony.
How far apart are the boards and rails there? Do you know approximately? I mean, what's the largest opening, 4 or 5 inches?
I don't know.
Don't know.
I would
Because I
guess,
couldn't tell
guess
from-
5 or
Yeah,
6
I just-
more.
I just know that it meets the current code. It brings the
Oh,
building
okay.
up to the current code for these openings.
Okay, good enough.
Yeah.
That answers my question.
Yes. So that's what we're working on, and then we didn't get any, I haven't gotten any comments or requests to change this clarification on use of the balconies. So, and we have distributed this, as I said. If you're inclined to do so, then you could adopt it, and we will add this to the miscellaneous policies in the administrative policy, the occupancy and administration. Administration and occupancy. And continued occupancy. Thank you, I know, Mr. Cool.
I move we adopt the clarification on the use of balcony spaces at Samuel Elliott Apartments as presented to the board.
I'll second it.
Made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Further questions?
Yeah, there's one question. One thing that hasn't been mentioned here is flags.
Flags are like planters and anything else. That's
Flags
going
are
to be.
permitted.
No, it's going to be, they really are not supposed to be attached to the building. So if that's something that the property manager feels is okay, and we feel that it will not be detrimental to the brick, then, you know, we're going to leave it up to the property manager.
Detrimental to the brick.
Yes.
Even if a flag is attached to the brick.
Yeah, I will tell you that the brick is not that great. That building was
I wouldn't
built
think
with.
about putting a flag in a brick in a
Oh
brick.
no, because the bolts that go in to hold the flag holder, people want to bolt
Okay.
that
I
to
see.
the brick. And the problem is that then you've made what is porous brick even more porous. And believe me, having tracked down some nasty water problems in that building, it doesn't take much to get water to come in, bypass the whole water system that's behind the brick, and go right into an apartment. So that's why
Many
we're...
feet away from where the.
Oh, many feet,
Oh,
like
so-
on the other side of the building. So that's why we're so fussy about attaching things to this brick.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that that's like flower boxes. There were many things that were brought up, and my answer was, you know, you're really going to have to just talk to Courtney, and she's going to have to sort of take that on a case-by-case as things come up. Because I didn't want to just get into this flat no, but on the other
But
hand...
that's sort of where we start.
Yeah, on the other hand, you know, Courtney's the one who's there. She's the one who can best sort of police it and understand it and sort of say, well, this might get out of hand or it is getting out of hand, and, you know.
That would be why on number 27, you not to install, attach, erect, or hang in the awnings, window boxes, window cards, or other structures to, on, or from the dwelling unit or other building without written permission of the Brattleboro Housing Authority. So
Right.
that gives
Yeah.
the individual opportunity to review.
Right, and the reason that I really, and I had some additional language sort of clarifying that the property manager had to do it and it had to go into your tenant file, is as a protection for the tenant. Because the tenant asked the property manager's whipping through the building, and the property manager, oh yeah, fine, and it never, it's never, you know, you don't stop, you don't put it in writing, and then the next thing you know, I come along and I go, how come that's there? And the tenant says, oh, well, the property manager said it was okay, and I look in the file and I go, no, not in writing. Or the property manager leaves, and the only thing we have is the tenant record.
Yes.
It just helps the tenant enormously. The more we can get these, just take a stop, even if it's a handwritten note, just get it into their file so that we all know they asked, we said yes, it's okay.
And you've got the documentation.
Yeah, yeah.
Do we also check afterwards to make sure what they do put up is what they requested?
Yes, that
Okay.
usually happens.
Good.
Just
Okay.
just by the nature of having the property manager there and the property manager in this loop and having to approve it, then the property manager usually goes back to see, did they put up what they said they were gonna, or did we have the conversation about don't put that up, and they went ahead and put it up? Because then we need to have that conversation
Right,
again.
exactly.
So we have a motion on the floor.
Yes. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0.
Thank you. And thank you, Tom.
Don't mean to distrust the wisdom of the chair.
Oh, no. Okay, program managers, starting off with the pumpkin colored family self-services.
Is this supposed to be part of the
Oh,
property managers?
it is. It was
Okay.
just, I just put it in there for your
I
information.
think it was great.
Yeah. So,
And wanted to make sure that it got into the minutes.
oh, yes, I will make sure it gets in there.
What is being referred to as the Public Housing Assessment System, the FAS. We are investigated on a yearly basis. And we once again are rated as a high performer. I don't remember our not being rated as a high, I'm sure it's happened in the past, but it's been a lot of years of
Been a
high
while.
performer.
Yeah.
It's been quite a while,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Something that we can all take pride in,
Yes, indeed.
particularly those that are actually responsible for being there. What?
She's one of them.
It's pretty much everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but the family self-sufficiency report, Lucy and Denise. Always enjoy these reports. Any questions or comments?
I'm really impressed with the emphasis on education that the family self-sufficiency program from Lucy and Tel and Denise Brown, with 2 students who are getting undergraduate degrees and expect them to go on to get master's levels in accounting so
This
they
is
can
impressive.
become CPAs.
Yeah.
And I think it helps to have community college and Vermont Technical College being downtown and walkable
Absolutely.
to everyone.
That they've embarked on social media,
Yeah.
Facebook page.
I noticed elsewhere that there's a reference to the fact that some housing authorities are required to offer FSS services. And we never have been, to the best of my knowledge. We do it, but we've not been required. Why would some be required and some not, do you know?
Yes. many, many years ago, we weren't required. I think it was a requirement, it was one of those typical HUD things, if you were over 250 units, you had to have it. So we did have it. And we actually contracted with Rich Moore and then with a couple other consultants after that to run the FSS program. HUD then changed the requirement so it no longer applied to us, and we dropped it because under the HUD rules we just couldn't get it to work. So when it came back, we looked at it again and said, okay, now this looks like a program that we could actually do and be successful.
Is the difference change in the HUD rules?
Yes, yes. When they mandated it, it was a different, the mandate was really a different program. It was very difficult for a housing authority of our size to have to meet their, the benchmarks. The benchmarks were established based on housing authorities significantly bigger. Now they're really much more reasonable. We get to, we apply for the grant, so in applying for the grant, we set the benchmarks according to the size of our population.
I see it as kind of a win-win situation here. We win, they win.
This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it's excellent.
yeah. I love the pajama party idea too, that, you know, especially for the little kids getting pajamas and
Oh, it's really
that was
Yeah.
sweet.
really neat.
Resident Services Coordinator, monthly report from Laura. I like to call attention to the fact that we are partnering with so many organizations, and that's what you have to do, I think, in today's world. There's so many people out there that are offering this or this or this. Nobody's offering the whole spectrum. So just serving as kind of a conduit is
Exactly.
very helpful.
Yes.
Exactly.
And the tenant associations. Lorelei is working, said she was working
Get
with
those
Moore
going,
Court
yeah.
and Sam Elliott and Hayes Court. And I gather that
And here,
Ledgewood is starting the nomination process. Great.
she's really trying great guns.
Not your father's founding father. And Sash.
I want to just draw your attention to, on the SASH cover note, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th paragraph down where it refers to Christine acting as a representative. That is just a tremendous activity that she initiated and brought all of the SASH coordinators for our regional district together, and boy, it was just a great, great day, and they're going to keep doing it. And she really initiated that and figured it all out and coordinated it.
Is there any translation of the DRHO? I don't see it.
Designated Regional Housing Organization.
Okay, thank you.
That's what we are. There's 6 of them.
Okay.
2 are housing authorities. We're 1 and 2 housing authorities. And we cover Wyndham and Windsor counties.
Great.
Yeah, the one thing and this isn't that I was disappointed at, I had, something came through on the internet, it was Bernie Sanders talking about in Congress something, they were trying to lower money or whatever, but he was talking about having programs like SASH, and going on and on, describing SASH to a T, but there was no mention that in Vermont we had this organization called SASH. And I was a little bit disappointed by that, because I'm like, well, Bernie, we have that in Vermont. I'm talking back to it. And that, you know, nothing was mentioned that we have it and what it was, and that it was working really well.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, we'll correct that.
Yeah.
Write him a memo.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll make sure the right people get to Bernie. I don't know if it's in here, but we have, we assisted the Valley Cares folks up in West Townsend. They now have a full panel that is started.
Oh, nice.
And they have hired their, it's kicked off, they have their SASH coordinator, their wellness nurse. It's very exciting. We were very fortunate. There were only 2 slots available for the balance of these 2 years, and we got one whole one for Townsend. So it was really great. I saw Roger Albee the other day, and he said, "Oh, you've got to come up. We've got SASH going. It's great." And I said, "Oh, good, good."
Wonderful.
So it's very good.
Any other thoughts or questions relative to those? If not, we can look at the Housing Choice Voucher Program report from David.
So this tells me that the A.W. Richards project-based voucher participants, they are now fully housed, fully used. There had been some vacancies there.
No, there are still 2 vacancies at A.W. Richards, but they're not in the project-based.
I
They're
see.
not there.
I see.
There are 5 project-based vouchers there. And those
They've
have been full.
pretty stable, haven't they?
Yeah, those are stable. Yeah, I think we may have somebody moving into one of the vacant apartments.
Okay.
This week, or next, something like that. Yeah.
Bless Cindy. She's becoming used to the finer points of Section 8.
Yeah.
She's a quick study.
I didn't know where to mention this, but the other day, I had someone who was applied for housing, regular housing, and she was telling me where she was in the process, and she must have gone on for 15 minutes about how great Cindy was.
Oh, good.
And she says, you know, she goes, I know, I said, she goes, I can't help it, it's my disability, but I bother her so much, and she's always so sweet. I said, there are things that people ask of me, and I don't know where to go for it. I call Cindy, and she walks me through it. And she just went on and on and on about it. I mean, just gushing. So I wanted to let you guys know that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That's always nice to hear.
In the discussion on homelessness that has been coming out of the works, there was, in the group at my church, really questioning about what the community knows about the availability of apartments. And we've talked about 7 folks searching with a voucher for Section 8 housing and so forth. David has been the source of so much information on that, and I just keep thinking it might be helpful for the community to try to use or tap into his knowledge of why things are so tight here and what other possibilities there are for the community.
Well, and I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
I'm kind of stating a
Yeah.
general feeling, not a question.
David, it was interesting because I got, I know, I had to write a letter. And in the letter, I summarized these 3 programs very succinctly. And I sent the letter to Peter Elwell, the town manager, and said, here, these are the programs that we've run and we're involved with, and da-da-da-da. And then I copied David, and David came over and he said, I'm going to see Peter Elwell on Wednesday. And I said, great. So they had a long conversation, and David and I will back in for him if he can't come, but he's going to get into the small groups and be a part of the resources there.
I've been at the meetings, and they did have, and Connie is the one that was was the spokesperson for their group. And they are forming a small group who's going to work on that project. And that would be a perfect place for David to be, because there's a lot of people there, and I'm going to get in trouble if this is on TV, but there's a lot of people there who know nothing, who don't understand homelessness at all, and what our restrictions are on finding people housing, and what other what other organizations are, what their restrictions are, and they come up with all these great ideas, but it's like, well, where do we find the money to pay for it? Building apartments or building small housing in places like that, that's all well and good, but first you have to find out where you get money from and things like that. And with our organization, I mean, my feeling is to the greater part of it, we're working with the elderly who could be homeless, if they didn't have, the facilities in our groups and everything like that. And right now, that's our priority, to get all the people at Melrose housed and everything. But yeah, I think that I think in some of the cases that I've seen there, I'm working with the food group, and some of the things that I've heard there is people who have no clue. What it is like to get money from the government to do things like that, to do housing. And sometimes you just sit there, and I know somebody was standing next to me, and where they were talking, and she just kept hitting me. It's like, yeah, just go ask the government for money, And it's a learning process for a lot of people, because a lot gets said there, but people have no idea what hoops and what you have to go through to be able to do these things. So.
I think David and the Housing Authority have, through Shelter Plus Care, the transitions, and the family supported housing, we really are filling that niche of transitional housing, and the numbers are very small, but we could increase those and do more. And now David's ingeniously figured out master leasing, and he's doing it with 2 private landlords, which is tremendous, because the Housing Trust, they can't do it, and we couldn't do it at AWR because of the funding that goes into the buildings. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So he's got a master lease going with 2 private landlords.
What is a master lease?
The master lease is held by an organization, not the individual.
Okay.
So in this case, one is held by Morningside, and the lease is between the landlord and Morningside. So they've got an apartment that they can move somebody into, and when that person is ready to move on, they can move on. Or if that person isn't doing so well living in that particular place, they can relocate the person. And then we're there to support the housing piece and to work with the landlord. And as I said so many times, I mean, David's relationships with the area landlords is unbelievable. So, which is why we have these master leases. I mean, that's so incredible. I've been wanting to do that for years. We pulled it off.
I know somebody who just.
But anyhow, it's wonderful. So that's a big need in Brattleboro. Is that we've got homeless shelters, and then we've got subsidized housing that starts with us, and then it goes to land trust. But there's this huge gap, and that's why we started transitions, for the people that were falling in that gap all the time. And now David's got these other 2 programs going, so it's really good. And if we could just get more.
Shelter Plus is one of the biggest that I've seen. The number of people I've seen go through there, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's mine.
So good.
Also, the Section 8 Management Assessment
Oh,
Program.
yes, which you
Once
should
again,
have received.
Doesn't look too bad.
No, I do it very honestly.
program you're looking at?
Well,
Yes.
again, I won't, I should say it again because they really deserve it, but those files are unbelievable. And I've been looking at files for 20 years and these are amazing. And the work that especially Jeannie did
Now,
is
that was,
unbelievable.
who devised what was going to be changed? Was that David, or was it a group effort? or-
It was David and Jeannie
David
together.
and Jeannie.
Two of them? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey,
We figured it out.
Jeannie's had a lot of years of experience.
Yeah.
She certainly has.
And she hasn't had 1 year's experience 15 years.
No.
She's had 15
No.
years
Right,
of
right,
experience.
yes.
And she had a bad arm, but she
Yeah.
just hung in there, and then we were reorganizing our job, and we said, there are two things you have to do. You have to get the files done, and then you have to train Cindy on landlord checks. So she got it done, and they are really incredible.
That's good.
Yeah, and the difference now is too, you have to document everything that you might not have had to document in the past.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of chasing down
Yeah, I bet.
paper and
Oh, yeah.
people and, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes, so I need you to approve the submittal that I sent you so that,
This
the
is
chair-
CMAC.
yes,
Okay.
the CMAC, so we can have it signed.
So moved.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. So,
It's for you to sign.
this is the 11th.
Mhm.
51115.
Hmm?
51115.
Ah. Okay. Redevelopment manager report from Jack. I see we're going to have a completed, hopefully a completed hydrologic and hydraulic analysis by June 15th. And it is expected that the installation of the new balcony doors will be started by mid-July and be done by the end of September, which answers the question in our write-up on your meeting with the SEA, and the woman said it won't start this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let us hope that she was wrong.
Yes, yes, yes.
Red Clover Commons, that's starting on this Friday?
Doubtful.
Doubtful.
Yeah,
Okay.
we still need to refine the bids for the demolition, and we are awaiting the final release from EPA, which we were told today is in review, in the higher up review, so
Okay.
it should be coming.
Looked like a utility crew was up there last week
Yes.
working on the, what I figured to be the new hookup.
Yes.
So things are moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting, and you may not know, is that house next door that has
Yeah.
all that stuff is for sale now.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
Sale sign in there for about 2 or 3 weeks now.
Oh, I
Yeah.
saw it on
Yeah.
allstate.com.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm not sure there's anybody living there,
Oh, really?
because the bird never comes out.
The emu is gone?
I never see it.
Yeah. No, actually, the pictures I saw, there didn't seem to be a lot of furniture in there.
Yeah,
There was some, but not a lot.
and the physical needs assessment. Any questions or comments?
Are there any resources to meet the physical needs assessments?
Oh, no. No, no.
But
No.
we have to do.
But we have to do it,
Okay.
but no.
No.
It'll just tell us how woefully underfunded it is.
Yeah. I didn't mean to ask an obvious question, but I think it was important. But-
Yeah,
Why are you doing it if you can't fund it? It's true.
because Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
Any other comments on Red Clover Commons?
No, I think
No,
we've
we're
covered it.
meeting. Work session, old, new, other business, the financial review. We've got a listing of checks.
Do we have somebody for August?
No.
No.
On last on the list, July.
Okay.
Since I will not be here in August, I shan't step forward.
And I have July, so.
There's one Friday in June when I'm not going to be available, but I think Bill had said he would do that for me then.
So we
I
can,
expect to be here.
Perhaps Tom can.
you know.
Somebody's gonna have to
are
cry
you gonna be
uncle.
here in August?
I should
Could you
be.
sign a check?
I can.
Oh, thank you. All right, Tom.
I trapped into that one, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. You didn't speak
I
up fast
was trying to
enough.
be very
I
quiet.
know, I saw you. Didn't work.
That's sitting at the back
Yeah.
of the floor.
You always sit in the back at church and in class, right?
That's right.
You don't get a chance here. Okay, review dates and work on strategic planning, no committee meeting May 12th. Board strategic planning retreat, May 16th, 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., Melrose Community Room.
Yeah, just going back to the checks for a second, I have to plan better. I get all the 5-week months.
Oh, dear.
I just looked at the month of July.
Picky, picky,
I
picky.
know.
Some people would look upon that as a blessing or a
I'll
treat.
trade, I'll trade.
Anything else to say on strategic planning or?
No.
No, okay. And we do have our green listing of checks. We've all had a chance to look through them. I didn't see anything that I wanted to raise the roof over. So, and I completely passed over transitions to housing quarterly report. But we did discuss that. Just mentioned the gap that's trying to fill. So, any other old or new business to come before the group before we go into executive session?
I just have to say about the checks, it's funny when I look at it because I see things crooked since problems with my eye. So I looked and I saw $17,000 and I looked over and I saw Supply Works. And I said, and then finally I went, as I know it's Springfield Housing.
Which is.
So I have to be very careful. Well, I know what that is. I know, yeah, I knew what that was.
If there is nothing else, I would welcome a motion we enter executive session to discuss a personnel matter.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We're in executive session.